Before we begin, 3 messages. I love getting paid, but I hate invoicing. At least I did until I started using FreshBooks.com. That's why I've been a customer for almost 4 years, and I'm not alone. Over 2 million people use it and love it like I do because it makes our lives so much easier and gets us paid so much faster. And here's a really cool thing that they're doing for Untethered viewers. You. Every week, they're going to give one of you a birthday cake. All you need to do for a chance to win is sign up for a free account and let them know you heard about them from Untethered.tv. So head to freshbooks.com and get started today with your free account. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. Here's a riddle. How do you build native cross-platform mobile applications quickly without having to rewrite code and hire consultants at a huge cost? Titanium from Appcelerator. Called the easy button for mobile application development, it allows you to focus more on what's important, getting product out the door. Join the more than 1.5 million active developers who have created over 13,000 apps at www.appcelerator.com. Hello everybody, welcome to Untethered.tv, where we have casual conversations with mobile rock stars. And I'm actually speaking to you and bringing to you actually Michael Seibel, who's the CEO and the founder of Justin TV. We want to really shape the conversation around what he's doing with, what the company's doing with SocialCam, and talk about the reasons why Justin TV, as you know, is a streaming technology versus SocialCam, which is a capture and share technology for mobile video. Michael, really appreciate you coming on and sharing this story.
Thanks for having me.
You know, certainly video for me. I love video. You love video. We really have an affinity for sharing this kind of information. A lot of companies are out there doing this right now. Why don't you just give a little bit of background? I'm pretty sure everybody who's watching this knows about Justin TV, but maybe give a reason, you know, talk about Justin TV and talk about SocialCam as well very quickly.
Great. So Justin TV, in a nutshell, is an open network for creating and sharing live video. At any given time, we have between 2,000 and 2,500 people streaming live video. Our monthly audience is about 30 million people, and we stream about 50 million hours of video per month.
And you also archive that, don't you?
Yeah, archive the video. It's available on demand as well.
It's incredible.
So pretty big undertaking. And SocialCam is a slightly different product. SocialCam, the goal is to unlock the video that's on your phone. So we want to make it really easy to share video with your friends from your phone. And those products relate together, but I'll let you
yeah.
Adam, bring that in.
Well, it's funny. So instead of streaming live, which is what Justin does, Justin TV does, the idea is to socialize the video that you're taking already in small chunks. Right? There's a limit. There's a limit to the amount of video that you can transfer or capture.
There's no limit now. So the reason that we kind of came across this this product, SocialCam, was actually out of one of the products we built for Justin TV, live streaming.
Yeah.
So we built a live streaming broadcaster as an iPhone and Android app. So app on your phone lets you broadcast live video to the world. Released that in September of last year. And during the interim period of time, it received over 4.5 million downloads. So the app was extremely popular. And when we tried to figure out how do we iterate this app and improve upon it, we started looking at some core-based metrics. So the first was, are people viewing the video live, or are they viewing the archive video? And it turns out that over 90% of the views on video that were shot from your phone live were occurring for archive. So then we said, okay, well, is the video being shot for live consumption, or is it actually being shot as a video clip? So we actually took a massive sample of videos, watched them ourselves, and started realizing that not only were these videos essentially being consumed after the fact, they were being created after the fact as well. They weren't being used to have a two-way conversation or to show off something that was interesting happening right now. And so that caused us to take a second and think a little bit. why is our app that is good for streaming live video, but is certainly not feature rich for streaming or for sending out clips? Why are we using it to send clips? And so that really caused us to look at 3 applications that you would assume allow you to share video for your phone very easily. First application, of course, YouTube. So we all open up our iPhones, and lo and behold, the YouTube app on the iPhone doesn't allow you to upload video. So we said, okay, that's interesting.
Nice. What does that say?
You could assume you could go, and the app doesn't have an upload button. Well, that's probably disappointing. The side moves we went was the camera app on the phone. And so taking a video on the camera app works great. And, we have iPhone 4s. The video quality is really good. But when you go to the sharing options, they leave a little bit on the table. So the first sharing option is to email your video, which can email a video attachment, a .mov file to whoever you wish.
And there's a certain size for that. It won't email a massive file,
exactly.
Right?
So it'll compress the video to kind of match a size.
Yep.
So when we were kind of talking to people about how they use that email, it's frustrating for 2 reasons. One, the person on the other end might not have a player that can play the video you sent them.
Right.
And the second is that even though it does compress the video, the person on the other end might have an attachment limit that causes your email to bounce. So you're not really sure whether it went through. So that was, what I like to call shockingly pre-YouTube. That's kind of how we felt about that option. The second option is MMS, which I think theoretically is supposed to be how, the next generation. It was supposed to really encompass this. Unfortunately, MMS drastically reduces the size and the quality and the length of your video. And so it's like kind of it promises a lot, but it delivers very, very little. And your video really bears very little relation to what you took in the first place, especially if you're shooting it on a nice device, with a nice camera. And your last option, here is the upload to YouTube option.
Right.
This option essentially takes you through about a 6-step process. It starts with log into YouTube, then upload, and you have to sit there and wait while the spinner spins to upload. Then title, then tag.
Yep.
And you're given a URL. And you think, oh, great, I can go distribute that URL, send it to my friends right now. Unfortunately, it takes YouTube anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes to process your video.
Yeah.
So if you start sending that URL out, you're sending people to a dead page.
Yeah.
So needless to say, not a great process. So that was, first looked at the YouTube app, nothing. Second looked at camera, sharing, not very good. Third, we looked at Facebook. Figured Facebook definitely has this, right?
Yep.
Scroll on the Facebook app, and lo and behold, there's no video button. There's no video link. To get to share a video on Facebook, you click on the news feed button, then you click on the photo button.
Yep.
And it asks you if you'd like to share a photo or a video.
Yeah.
Not necessarily intuitive. And the other part about Facebook that was slightly frustrating is, some part of your group is going to be on Facebook. But for example, my family isn't on Facebook. So then I have to still share it on other mechanisms. And Facebook doesn't make that easy. I can't then go and SMS it or email it. I can't share the embed. I can't share the link.
It's because it's behind a wall.
Yep. See it. Yeah. So limiting. And these are the options.
Yeah.
So we learned that people were using Justin.tv for sharing video clips, not because it was the easiest and best experience, it's because it was slightly better than the other options out there. So that's how we thought of SocialCam is, wait a second, instead of trying to tackle the problem of bringing live video to the phone, you really need to first tackle the problem of just allowing people to take videos on their phone and let them share them with people they want. And, whereas that was really YouTube's original promise on the web, didn't really deliver that on the mobile device. And so that's why we decided to build SocialCam.
Well, it's such a different experience, right? So people, we hear this a lot now, which is that, mobile is not the next web, right? Yeah. And this is a perfect example of that, where, people think it's okay, or the experience is fine to upload video to YouTube in a not real-time environment, whereas mobile is all about real-time capturing and sharing right away. So that paradigm, the web paradigm, doesn't work here.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And it's funny because the symptom of that is that most people we talk to, when they watch videos their friends have taken on their mobile phones, their sharing mechanism is their friend showing them their mobile phone. And it's like, wow. I mean, wow. Everyone's got smartphones, yet the only way I can show you is by holding my smartphone up to your face. And being
Exactly.
So there's clearly a lot of room here to explore. And then, when you look about how that relates to Justin TV, I mean, the way that we look at this is that we have built this massive video streaming system, and we can support a huge volume of video. And we've got this awesome team. We have 25 people here. The vast majority are on the engineering team. We've got a lot of expertise for moving video around. So when we think about what we're good at, we don't really compartmentalize it into live video on the Justin TV URL. We think about it as we're really good at giving people the ability to essentially share video and new forms of video and on new devices.
Yeah.
And so when we look at that challenge, Justin TV was one of the elements. Before us, it was really hard to broadcast live video on the web.
Absolutely.
Same network, essentially same back-end system, and we're confronting another challenge around video, which is it's really hard to share videos from your phone. And so, I think that there's such a strong relationship that it was such an easy project for us to take on. We already had a mobile team. We built the entire app in 3 months.
That's incredible. I mean, what about that though? Did you find it that this is the simplest of simple things, right? Which is to shoot a video on a mobile device, at least it is, and then to just share it with somebody. And you've gone through the hassle, and I mean this in a great way, the engineering hassle to engineer something that streams how many streams did you say at the beginning?
Yeah, so we do 50 million hours of video a month.
50 million hours of video on Justin TV streamed. So you built the infrastructure for all of that, and the simplest solution of getting sharing a video from my mobile device, overlooked by everybody. You solve a huge engineering issue around the way that you distribute the video now, and the simplest of the simple is the one that everybody else seems to have just overlooked. Does that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that it's funny. I think there are actually a lot of challenges to get into the mobile video space for a company that doesn't have as much experience with video as we do.
Yeah.
One of the things that we realized is that kind of post YouTube, a lot of the video startups just died. Veo, for example, Dailymotion's getting bought. Just a lot of them just like went away.
Yeah.
And so when you think about having a network that makes it cheap to stream video, well, there weren't that many out there. If you think about having a team that's not intimidated by video, not that many out there. And there's like no surprise that like the photo sharing sharing apps have been taking off because it's like fundamentally an easier problem. It's easier to get your hands around. And so I think that, it's not necessarily that people didn't observe the problem. I think that it's a slightly harder problem to tackle if you don't have the video expertise and if you don't have investors and backers who aren't intimidated by video as well. I mean, a lot of investors lost their shirts investing in video startups that did nothing. And so that's another thing that it makes it really hard to start a new idea around video right now.
Yeah, the cost can be very prohibitive around streaming and distribution, hosting not so much anymore, but the cost to run video compared to throwing a couple of filters on a photo as a differentiator. You can do that. You can build an entire environment in a mobile device that doesn't require a web backend, like an Instagram, pretty quickly. And you're seeing that now. So what about turning this into revenue? I mean, Justin TV is generating revenue. What about something, how do you turn the static video into revenue, or do you care about that?
So, I mean, it's literally been 3 weeks since launch.
You're not making money yet? What?
Yeah, no, seriously. On the priority list, revenue is pretty low down. I think that, there's some things that are really interesting about phones, though, that we think can make very good revenue opportunities. The first is that advertising is taking off on phones in a major way. I just really think an advertisement can have much more of the share of your attention when it's on a mobile device as opposed to when it's on your computer. An ad on your computer is like one little block of the screen.
It's competing.
Most of these really good ads on the mobile device, it's your entire screen is this ad. And so that's really can drive engagement. I think secondarily, the ability to do in-app purchases is extremely interesting. One of the apps that I loved when it came out was T-Pain.
Yeah, Smule. I love Smule. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so one of the things I think they nailed so well was to add an additional song to the repertoire. It was 99 cents, and it was so easy. It's just like one click, I've got it, I'm done. Yeah. And usually making a purchase gets in the way of you enjoying something. And like with that app especially, it was just seamless. It just didn't feel like it was getting in the way at all. And I think that, mobile has that opportunity in a way that web really doesn't. At the end of the day on web, you still have to type something in. You still have to, type in a credit card number. It's just it's annoying, or set something up beforehand. And so I definitely think there's some great opportunities in SocialCam around allowing people to do more with their videos. So whether that's improve upon their videos, whether it's better organize their videos, I think there's a really good in-app purchase model around those concepts.
Yeah.
But what I would say today, our number one concern is how we just make it easier and more enjoyable for you to share videos. And then also, how do we optimize that viral loop for once someone shared the video with you, you coming and downloading the app so that you can share videos with other people.
And do you find that, was there a good crossover from the Justin TV guys, that the people who downloaded, the 4.5 million people that downloaded that app, when you launched this 3 weeks ago, was it, did you see an immediate spike leveraging
We
those
actually
guys?
did not promote this app on the Justin TV app yet.
Wow.
Yeah, we are. One of the things that we're being really careful about is we don't want to cause a massive splash that can be confused for organic growth. It's really, really easy to have inorganic look exactly like organic until it dies. Yeah. And then it's like, oh shit, I thought this was growing and now it's not. So we wanted to get it out there. We definitely promoted it in the tech press. We wanted to have a small enough and kind of a much more controlled audience, people using it, to understand, are all the viral mechanisms working? And is this not just a bunch of users who download the app and then never do anything?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who have leveraged the press, the tech press, and they see that kind of huge spike on one day, and then the next day it's kind of like the depression sets in. You get
That's funny.
You get the chills and the shakes.
YC loves to talk about that as the trough of sorrows.
The trough of
sorrows. One of the things that, first of all, we've lived through this all before, right? So it's like launching a new product for us is not necessarily it's not a very new experience. But one of the things that we've been really excited about are some of the core metrics that we look at, which aren't really susceptible to the massive up and down spikes of launching a product. One of the metrics that we really enjoy is the fact that the average video is being shared more than once.
That's great.
So when we built this app, it wasn't about making videos that are going to be really popular on YouTube. We didn't even include views. You don't even know how many people have viewed your content. It was all about kind of a much more of a Facebook photos model of taking videos of the people you know, tagging those people, getting comments and likes on those videos. And if you take a video of your family, you really only care if 4 or 5 people, the right people, see it. This isn't something that you want to get blow up and be like Jonas Brothers. So we really just wanted to make something that was focused on every day, making video a much bigger part of your everyday experience.
Yeah.
And that part's doing really, really well. The fact that people are actually not only consuming these videos, but they're also then one step sharing them, for us was extremely encouraging.
It is that viral loop that you're talking about really brings in the value of a product like this. You're not limiting the audience, but in essence, you're right. It's not mass distribution that you care about right now. It's hitting 100% of the people that you want to watch that video. And we've all had those terrible experiences about trying to share just one video on Facebook. It's just with one person, and it's a very difficult thing to do.
It's so funny how that. One of the great things that I love about it is we've really remade sharing with email and SMS so that it is seamless. Because email and SMS are great ways to do one-to-one sharing.
Yeah.
But you can't send someone an attachment. You can't send them an MMS. So with us, we essentially just have on our SMS share is just a link that links to an HTML5 compatible page that has your video.
Yeah.
So you can share your video you took with anyone who's got a smartphone. Instantly, they can see it on their smartphone. And then with an email share, perfect example, people love to share with their parents, but they're not going to download a video player. We literally send a simple link, and that page doesn't have a ton of stuff on it. It's just the video you shared with them.
Yeah.
And so, we really wanted to capture that experience where, Facebook's good for some things, but I think the way we imagine it is that it used to be you had to capture all of your content on a non-internet enabled device. And then you had to transfer it, and then you had to figure out how to share it. And those were 3 or 4, maybe even different products you were using.
Yep.
And with smartphones, they kind of went halfway. It's wow, okay, I'm actually going to take video on my internet enabled device now. That's great. But until you nail, okay, how am I going to store that video? How am I going to share that video? That's an app. And so when we think about Justin TV's, play in this space, when we think about SocialCam, we almost think about it as replacing the camera app on the phone. And you want to have one place where you can take all the videos, distribute them however you want, know that they're saved on your phone and saved online.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
And, for us, it's like when this market completely gets disrupted, flip video, camcorders, like normal people are just not going to use those things. They're just going to use an app on their phone. And we want to be that app.
Well, yeah, Tomio Honen, who is a mobile celebrity out of Europe, he's a guy that talks about this quite a bit. He talks about the disruptive force of mobile. And Square in the sites of mobile right now is everything that you take a picture with or take a video with. It's gonna destroy those industries.
Yep.
We're on that path. And how do you guys then get in front of that and be that? Because Apple's closed and they're never going to replace their camera, but their camera software with it. But they might do the same service with their Mobile Me service that you guys offer by. With SocialCam, how do you does that worry, that kind of stuff?
No. Big companies don't worry me. Okay. I think that they're going to be way too fast to try to implement some type of business model, or way too fast to kind of promote it in some kind of awkward way. It's funny. We always get reached out to all the time. It's like, hey, do you want to have your app pre-installed on phones? And my mind's like, people want an app that works, and they want an experience that works. And the second that they feel like you're and somehow forcing them down a path or forcing them to make a purchase before they want to, or that there's some kind of overarching goal, right? Like Mobile Me, it's like, oh, we're going to actually be the place where all your content's going to go. And it's like, I'm not looking for that. Like when I want to take a video, I'm looking for something to take a video, and that thing should be free. It should be easy. And I want to go back to doing what I was doing. These aren't 20-minute experiences. This is 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. And so, what I would say is that, startups are really, really tuned to kind of deliver this type of experience. And I think that, whereas on one hand, I'm not really concerned about the big guys in this space. As a startup, you've always got to be concerned about startups because, they're bringing all the same tools to the game. And I think the only advantage we have on startups is what we mentioned before, that we have so much experience with video. We've gotten the cost so low.
And you've got patient investors that have put the money in, that know who you guys are, that you guys have proven your worth before.
Yeah, especially in the video space, that's few and far between.
So where do you go from here? You talk about this is Justin TV was one product, SocialCam is another product. I mean, in the mobile space, who would have thought that photos were a growth industry in the mobile space? But video is clearly the oncoming train when it comes to this. I mean, what do you guys see that's coming down the road for mobile video? Is there anything that jumps out at you?
It's funny. I think that our product challenge right now is pretty simple, because I feel as though in the end of the day, the use case is a pretty simple use case. Right now our entire focus is on interacting with our early users and kind of breaking down how they use the app and how we can make it even better.
Yeah.
So we already have a release that's coming out in the next week and a half or so that are responding to the first round of feedback. But we look at this instead of one big problem, we look at it as several very small problems. And it's like, how do we make it a little bit better? How do we make it a little bit better, a little bit better? I think one of the other things that's extremely interesting, one of the uses for the app that I love, is the viewing experience. Mm-hmm. So we create a feed, and you can have people you follow in the app, and essentially you can be connected to them and see the videos that they're creating in real time. And one of the things that I really enjoy about SocialCam is the experience of being able to see what everyone did last night.
Good or bad?
Yeah, good. It's an awesome experience. And what I love about video that you can't really get with photos is that, photo, it's that one click, right? It's like what happened at that split second. And some of the most interesting photos, you actually want to see what happened.
Yeah.
And you can't click in. It's like video in my mind is like a click in experience. Yeah. And when I scroll the feed, what's so funny about it from our perspective is that not all the videos are interesting, right? Like the reason why we show you 4 screen caps and the reason why we do face detection to make sure their face is in those screens is so that we can say to you, is this video going to be interesting for you or not? If you're just okay reading the title and looking at the screen caps, great. But if you want more, there's more like right below the surface.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because we start seeing new users thinking, is this a video moment or a photo moment? And that's, I think, the transformations can start happening, because a lot of photos are really video moments. Just right now, it's a lot easier to take the photo.
And you know what's funny about it is that more and more people are, families now, as we talked about, is that you're both carrying devices, smartphones like the iPhone or an Android device. So maybe one is taking photos, the other is taking videos, and you're creating a much more cohesive experience, a better experience when you match that up.
Definitely,
which is pretty cool. What about things like taking this technology into different realms? Do you start to think about, when you split your team up to build Justin TV and to maintain Justin TV in the live streaming versus SocialCam in the canned capture and then share, is there another business, or do you think that, like, do you get into surveillance? I mean, I read some articles about Justin TV getting into broadcast, that kind of stuff. Is that tough?
So I think that it's interesting. I think that the model that you're talking about is what we're actively doing, which is essentially, we think that we've done some amazing stuff in the UGC broadcasting world. We've kind of gotten a dominant position. That business is still growing, but we don't think that's a billion-dollar business. And so we look to the verticals within that business that can have a much stronger growth trajectory, and we start taking advantage of them, right? So mobile is clearly a big one in that space, and that's right. SocialCam. The other one in that space that's, I think, a little bit less obvious that we're working on right now is video games. So video games are huge, bigger market than more money spent than movies.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about video games is that there's a whole kind of world growing up around competitive video games.
Yeah.
It's called esports. It's something that I knew nothing about until a couple months ago. But essentially, it's for the top video games in the world. It's people who are really good at playing them competitively,
yeah.
and people watching. And we always saw this activity on Justin.tv at a low level, 2, 3, 4, 5% of video views being used to watch people play video games. And whether that's competition or whether that's training for competitions or teaching people how to play better, it was all around this video game streaming. And when we dug in a little more, we realized, wow, this actually is a great use case for live. One of the most amazing use cases for live online has been sports.
Yeah.
And when you think about anything competitive, people want to watch live as opposed to after the fact. So when you started getting these video game tournaments coming to Justin TV, and we started looking at, wow, okay, this tournament can get 50,000 simultaneous viewers. That's a stadium full of people watching.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And so over the past 3 or 4 months, we've actually also invested a lot of time in video gaming. And that's another area that, while we don't talk about as much yet, is another major vertical that we're pursuing, and one that's growing ridiculously quickly. I think in the last 30 days, it's grown over 100%.
That's incredible.
And so video games now represent about 25% of all views on Justin TV.
Come on.
So it's funny. It's kind of like we're kind of maturing as a company where we're starting to take kind of this base product and operationalize it and start building a process for building
channels,
really
almost
great video products. And
but that's pretty amazing. Like certainly with the devices like Apple TV or any of the other ones that bring basically internet IP video onto your television. You start to think about the ability to now have a dedicated Justin TV channel for video game competitions and archives and all of those things. It's a pretty powerful piece that you can move from one to the next to the next to the next.
Yeah, I mean, totally. It's funny because the way we look at it is there is actually a pretty strong straight television metaphor.
Yeah.
If you imagine the space, on one hand, there are about 210 million people in America who play games, video games.
Yep.
On the other hand, there's this group of professional gamers who are right now, producing content and competing against each other.
Yep.
And then there's this huge group of advertisers who want to spend a ton of money to sponsor good gaming content to sell their games to the big audience. And it's funny, we realize the only thing that's missing is the guy in the middle, what we like to call the ESPN.
Yep.
You know, the ESPN doesn't own the content, it doesn't buy the ads, and it doesn't own the audience, but essentially connects all three of them together in one place. And so when we think about where, you know, there's room for Justin TV in this esports market, it's to be the ESPN. It's to be the place that all the audience goes to watch this great competitive content that frankly is already being created. That's the crazy thing that we didn't realize is that, you know, take example YouTube. YouTube, the #2 most popular category of content on YouTube is video games. It's like we're not having to create this market. It already exists. It's just no one's connecting all the dots.
Well, it's like
and it's another place where we have a huge advantage because we have this massive video system. So all the other players in this space have no ability to essentially create a distribution system. The advertisers just want video views to ad. The gamers are good at playing games, and the viewers are good at watching video. And you know, someone has to be good at distributing it.
Well, it's funny because you know, when I was growing up, we used to watch the Wide World of Sports, which was you know, off the wall sports from around the world, and and that kind of grassroots I don't know, mind expansion when it came to sports or anything like those has disappeared now with mainstream television and mainstream sports. So you look for it in alternative ways, and huge opportunity for not only for Justin TV but for, you know, for live streaming, but for canned streaming as well, canned capture as well.
Well, I mean, one of the fun things about video games is that normally in the niche sports world, they're niche audiences.
Yeah. And
so you always have this challenge where it's like, well, how do you get enough people to watch this content? And awkwardly, in the video game space, it's not a challenge of niche audience. It's a massive audience. Yeah. It's really a distribution challenge. I think that's our major advantage here is that, you know, if you're dealing with niche content, it'd be a lot trickier to figure out how to match up the audience with the content. Whereas for us, StarCraft is an extremely popular game. Street Fighter is an extremely popular game. They're huge audiences who want to watch the best players play. And the best players want to play. They don't want to build video websites and networks and companies.
Well, you know, I just, it's so amazing that, I mean, I don't know about you, but, you know, I brought up in the internet world, and I look back and I think, who would have thought two things out of this conversation? One, that somebody could make a living playing video games, a good living, you know, on tour, you know, at a championship level, celebrity-like status, and that 50,000 people at a time want to watch this guy play in a tournament.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said before, like learning about this space is somewhat incredible because it's all happening kind of a little bit under the covers. And if you go to somewhere like Korea, you know, it's really popular, but it's so hard to think about, okay, well, I don't see it as popular in the United States, so I just don't see it at all.
Exactly.
And, everything starts somewhere, and you know, gaming is really, really popular area. I think it's going to be real fun.
Well, so one more question, and cognizant of time here, how do you make sure that the team is focused? Like, this is a good challenge for you guys because you've got the infrastructure, you've got, as you said, you're operationalizing Justin TV, and now able to roll out literally specialty channels, you know, at the turn of a dime, which is so amazing. Then you've got SocialCam, which is a different product. Same engineers, different products. How do you balance that as a company?
It's actually pretty simple, right? So the first thing is that the vast majority of the company is on the engineering team.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that we don't really divide up the engineering effort into product, UX, design, front end, back end. You know, essentially, you know, our team has all of the components to build a complete product. So we have 3 teams on Justin TV. We have a mobile team that's primarily focused on SocialCam. We have a gaming team, which is primarily focused on gaming.
Yeah.
And then we have a back-end team that essentially keeps the video system up.
Yeah.
The system that both leverage. And so it works really great because it's just 2 teams and they're working on different products. And then there's a support team that kind of supports them across the board. And then if you look at the business guys on the team, you know, they're essentially another form of support team. You know, they can float between the products, whether that's advertising or PR or testing, just to make sure everything is working well, just to make sure that, you know, is there anything they need? And, you know, as a result, I think it's a model that works pretty well for us, certainly. Yeah. It's not something we could have done out of the gate, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But, you know, for us right now, it's actually been surprisingly successful. And I think startups always realize, and big companies realize too, that like small teams tend to be extremely efficient. And so, you know, we're making more progress on both of these products than if we had everyone working on one or the other. And I think that's what really excites us.
Well, why so? I mean, engineer focused. You've got most of your guys. You said 25 team of 25 people. Most of them are engineers, software engineers.
Yep.
So Justin TV's growth and SocialCam's growth is purely just because the product is awesome and that it fits a niche?
That's it. It's all about iterating the product. I think that, we have 4 co-founders. We have 4 co-founders, and I'm the only non-engineer co-founder. And so
the outsider.
Yeah, well, I've been kind of converted to the way of thinking, which is essentially, it's like, why do you need a non-engineer? Like, why? And like,
were they asking this of you? All 3 of them?
No. Well, yeah, in the beginning, certainly, yes. And then,
what are you bringing to us here?
Exactly, which was relevant because pre-launch, I wasn't bringing very much.
Yeah.
But I think that, our way of thinking about it is, how can we create an engineering solution to this problem? And I think that, like, a lot of the great technology companies, that's what they did. I mean, that was Google's motto from the get-go. That's Facebook's model. Yeah. Like, respecting engineering and making sure that that's a driving force of the company. It's great for recruiting. It's great for being able to move quickly.
Yes.
And, it's really great when you can walk into a company and everyone looks around saying, the people who are here are really smart. And I really like working with smart people. And, we work hard to kind of keep that culture. And it gives us the ability to do some fun stuff. We definitely have a lot of, know a lot of other companies that are hampered by, they start off as really engineering focused, but then we're hampered by a biz dev focus or a, sales focus or just, general middle management craft. Where now it's like, it takes them 8 times longer to do the same stuff.
Yeah, they have meetings all day to discuss what needs to get done and approval processes. But exactly. In Google's case, it's engineer-led, definitely engineer-led. They've been criticized for, I don't know if they listen to it or not, but lack of UI, lack of human touch, right? Everything's very, machine-focused.
Yeah.
The oxymoron about Google building a social network is that they don't even speak to each other. They're all engineers kind of thing, right?
I don't know how extreme that is. I mean, I think a lot of Google's challenge comes from the fact that it's not a startup anymore.
Right.
And,
it's lost that startup.
Yeah. One of the advantages of being a startup is you can be very engineer focused. That's just one of the advantages. There are a lot of other advantages to being a startup.
Yeah.
And when you're a big company and you have to deliver numbers and you've got margins and you have 20,000 people to manage, suddenly it's a little bit harder to be flexible.
Yeah.
But they've certainly done a great job.
Oh, yeah. It's not like no criticism there. No criticism. Yeah. There has to be a UI piece to it, right? There has to be the human piece to it. So, promise, this is the last question, Michael. What about, what do you guys want to grow to? Like, 25 is a great team, right? 35, you start to get a little unwieldy. 50, you start to feel like, okay, I don't know some of these guys that are in here. Got a guy in business dev over there that I'm not really sure of.
We don't think of it in terms of numbers of people at all. Essentially bringing in people just enables us, in a well-organized and well-managed way, enables us to deliver iterations faster.
Yeah.
So I think that, what we're looking to is how can we iterate faster? And there are a bunch of different ways to do it, of which people is one.
Yeah.
But we don't have any, targets for people. Like, our board doesn't demand we expand to 50.
That's great.
We've been as many as 30 in the past. And so, people is just not a driving force, not a driving metric for us at all.
Yeah, just output is, though.
Output.
Yeah. And I think that
we've seen too many examples of more people equaling less output to be so excited about bringing in more people.
Exactly. And if you've got a good team and you're working at that level, at that startup level, which really means working hard, very hard all the time. I think that you never want to lose that. It's like when you move into a bigger office and you've got too much room, it diffuses the energy, right?
Totally.
You'll lose that feeling. So well, listen, Michael, I took more time than I said I was going to. I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing this. So people can find, obviously, Justin.tv is Justin TV. SocialCam.com is...
SocialCam.com if they're looking on the web, or if they just go to any of the app stores and type in SocialCam, they'll find us on Android Marketplace and on the iPhone App Store.
Listen, I really appreciate you coming on to do this. I love the app. Obviously, big fan of video, big fan of mobile video. Love the combination. Think it's certainly it'll be a driving force for a lot of people, and a lot of people, not just early adopters, are going to be using something like this. And my hope for you guys is that you do become that middleman in the video game industry as well for broadcasting on Justin.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the time.
Well, no, my pleasure. I've been speaking with Michael Seibel, who's the founder of Justin TV and SocialCam, their latest product. And this has been another episode of Untethered.tv. I really appreciate you guys watching and listening to this, and feedback is always appreciated as well. Thanks very much, Michael.
Thank you.